not everybody's going to be the same, and that's okay. Like, I don't want everybody to be the same. I just want you to be who you are. I think if you're authentic and real and like really come forward and be honest with people.
Life is going to kick you in the dick. Have the courage to accept responsibility for all your failures and shortcomings, and then use them to grow, not allow them to define you. Everything just fucking falls apart. It's such a powerful lesson. I love you sharing that, because it's a great reminder for all of us that, you know, circumstance doesn't necessarily create character, it reveals it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Beardsman. My name is Spence.
I'm Mink.
We're the co-founders of Live Bearded, and we're in the room with our boy Mikey. You know, Mink and I have been friends for what, 20 years now?
Yeah, we officially met in 2005. It is now 2025. It's been a long fucking time,
long
bro.
Journey. It's been a fun one too.
Definitely been fun, man. Lots of good memories. And you know, one of the things that what Spence and I have done literally from day one is talk about what it means to be a man.
Yep.
Like, how do we show up as our best selves, learning, growing, pushing each other, holding each other accountable. And we just decided to start recording these conversations with ourselves and then with some of our really good friends. And today we got our boy Mike in the house. We've known Mike for a couple years now. And what I love about Mike is he's someone that has really dedicated his life to service. You know, you've been in 2 wars. You were on over 400 missions in the military. 10 years after that, then you became a SWAT officer and helped keep us safe here locally. You've done so many things. You started your own business. You help us here at Live Bearded do so much. I feel like we become really, really good friends over the last couple of years. So I'm excited to have this conversation. And obviously we know who you are, but who is Mike Lenore?
That's a fun question. I am, I don't know. It's a hard question to answer, right? Like, you hear it all the time, especially being behind the cameras, but to like internally think of like who you are. I'd hope to say that I'm a pretty honest, good person who just, I don't know, I just love going after injustices in the world. I loved that and felt like I was born to do those type of things.
Yeah.
And then also, like, I have this kind of yin and yang side to me. Like, I loved the battle and the fighting and the shooting, but I also was very into like art and creating stuff and just being creative, pictures, things like that. And it's kind of been that way my whole life. So I'm just very much like that duality of, you know, hardcore stuff and creative stuff at the same time.
Yeah. So on one hand, obviously got deployed to 2 different wars.
Yep.
You were on all these missions, but at the same time, you developed this love and affinity for photography and being behind the camera. And like, now you actually work with me personally and us here at Live Bearded as videographer and shooter on a bunch of different projects. So we work together. But as you said, that yin and the yang, it's like, on one hand, you know, you're this crazy gun wielding badass, and on the other hand, you've got a camera and you're like looking for the right angle and, you know, trying to frame things just right. And it is really cool, that yin and yang you talk about. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I like, when I was younger, when I was like a kid, there was things I loved. I loved looking at books of like being a soldier or being a SWAT guy. And those were the 2 things I always wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. But then I also loved the pictures that I was looking at and like drawing and cartoons and stuff like that. It just always, that like creative side was always there. Even when I was super young, I used to take pictures of like my toy soldiers and like make them look realistic. And so like that art side was kind of always there. My mom's, my grandma, she was a really big artist. So I think it was just kind of like in the blood. Yeah. And then the other side, I mean, I'm the only person in my family to go the military route. I mean, I had like uncles and stuff and cousins that did, but I don't know where that side of it came from. I just always was like super hyper fascinated with it and always wanted to do it. That's like all I ever wanted to do.
Where do you think that came from? I mean, if you didn't have, a lot of times you hear like in the family, right? It's like your dad served, your grandpa served, and you kind of follow suit. If you didn't have any directly, where do you think that was influenced?
I don't really know. Like, this question.
And you also said like the idea of like just service in general, right? Because that's beyond just the military. Like you're a man of service and you want to give injustice. You said, right? And
yeah.
So yeah, what do you think that comes from?
I don't know. It's weird. I never really no one ever pushed me to go one way or another. Yeah. It just always like felt like the right thing for me. I just always was fascinated with war and books and I have this weird thing, and you guys have seen this, where I like hyper fixate on things and I have to learn like everything about something. So when I was interested in the military and the police and stuff like that, even at a young age, I was looking at books, reading them, marking them, like learning about all the gear, learning on how it worked. and stuff like that. So I don't think anybody in my family really pushed me to do it, but they never really like hindered me from doing it. They never really were like, no, we don't want you to do that, or don't go that direction or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I totally veered off and went a totally different direction and started playing pro paintball. Like my life was like guided towards military as soon as I got out of high school and all that. And then I just
was that
went a
before or
totally
after?
different
So you got high school, military, paintball, SWAT.
Yeah, so I did an ROTC program when I was in school because, again, I wanted to do it. I was real young. It was called Sea Cadets. You go through like a modified basic training. There's a bunch of kids that are like anywhere from ages 10 to 12 area, and they put you through a mock military thing, which helped me later because when you go through this, you actually come into the military at a higher rank. So I ranked up faster directly coming out into it. But I guess it all kind of aligned. I liked guns. I liked shooting. I liked those things. I've been shooting since I was 9 years old. So then after that, I get into high school and I kind of started doing high school sports. But one of my sister's ex, he played paintball, and I've never played. And then when I went, I was like, well, this is just like war. Like, this is awesome. And then I just started getting really good at it. And then I played for a couple local teams, and then I tried out for a team in LA, and I made the team, and they flew me out every weekend and traveled the country playing in tournaments. And that's where I think a lot of the foundation of who I am came from, is like the guys that I met playing that sport, traveling with a bunch of dudes. I always referenced it, and it was kind of funny, like later on I'll talk about how I was teaching SWAT schools, but those principles I learned there, like a lot of people laugh at them. They're like, oh, it's paintball. But a two-way range is a two-way range. When somebody's shooting back at you and trying to survive, like that battle, yes, the consequences are different, but the ability to like learn that is really cool. And then to work as a team, work with a team, care about the guy next to you, really like give everything you have for that person. All that was founded like right as I was turning 11, 12.
Yeah. One of the things I think, if any guy has played sports growing up at any level, right? Like, and obviously the more competitive it gets and the higher level you play at, the more that this probably becomes true. But just playing sports in general, you develop that sense of camaraderie and teamwork, and you start to learn those dynamics of how to show up on a team. How do you fulfill your role while helping other people and supporting each other? How much, it sounds like paintball is kind of your first taste of that, but then obviously military, probably the ultimate type of team that you could be a part of in a life or death situation. Same thing with SWAT. And I know obviously that is something that has really, as you mentioned, guided your entire life. How do you think the lessons from those experiences on the teams have maybe molded you into who you are? And then how does that work beyond the teams? Because obviously at some point, all of us leave the potential team that we're on and maybe transition to a new team or a different type of game.
Yeah.
How has that idea of teamwork molded you, and then how did that evolve over time?
Yeah, working with different personalities, even from that age, like the guys on the team were out of their mind. And I was honestly very quiet and very reserved at first. And then learning like how to be part of them and how to, be part of that group. And then my first taste of like real seriousness is when I started to play pro paintball. And I'm on the field, and there's this guy, his name's Billy Wing. I looked up to him forever since I like started, and now I'm on a team with him. And I screwed something up, and he walks up and he just grabs the gun out of my hand and he starts like shooting it like near my feet. And he's like, shoot your effing gun and do your job. And I didn't say a word, just, yup, hands me my gun back, walks off. And that lesson in that moment always stuck with me. I didn't have anything to say back. You don't know anything. That guy is a champion. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to win. He knows everything about this game and probably about life. So it was just like, shut up and do your job. And like, no one cares about your excuse or what you're going to say in this moment. All they care about is you do your job and do it with everybody else. If you can't do that, we'll find somebody else who can. And that moment, even in the military, stuck with me. And it's like, again, it's weird because it's a sport and it's a game and stuff, but playing something at the highest level, like It's not the NFL. People aren't getting paid like the NFL. But to make a team at that level, there's only 12 in the world. And there's hundreds of thousands of people playing paintball. So to make this team, which was a top 3 team at the time, the odds were astronomically against me. So to be there and to learn from these guys, it was very much like, shut your mouth and do as you're told. And going forth to the military, it was very simple for me. Shut my mouth, listen to the guys that are better than you, absorb what they have to say, and then turn around and teach the guy below you. I found myself in these weird positions, even on the teams there and in the military, where I was like a natural leader, I guess you could say. Like, I don't really hold a lot of ego, and I don't really care if I get put out there and I fail. You learn that early on in paintball too, is like, everybody makes mistakes, everybody fails, everybody loses. It's how you recoup from that. Like, bring it back, go win the next one, you'll win the tournament. It's not necessarily the end of the road. So with that, I was kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm willing to be the guy that takes the punishment. And learning that and moving forward in the military, I always got drawn in these leadership positions. And then I would just always carry that principle. Just listen to what they have to say. But then also, the guys below me, I absorbed how I was told and how I was taught, and I tried to instill that in the guys below me. I don't care what excuse you have. Do your job. You know how to do it right. Don't mess up. We're in this together. Even as a leader, I would do things like that other leaders wouldn't. I would do the little nitty-gritty stuff below me in lieu of letting my guys maybe rest a little bit longer and stuff like that, just because I knew what it was like to be there, and just always carry that humbleness all the way through,
What do you think that does in terms of how you lead and the impact it has for the people that you're leading by stepping to the front? Actions over words, right? Leading from the front, that humbleness to be able to not see a task as, oh, that's beneath me or whatever, but actually taking it upon yourself to lead from the front.
Yeah.
What do you think that does to the people beneath you?
I mean, when I was fast forward, I get on the SWAT team, and then I end up starting to teach SWAT schools, like the lead instructor. I wouldn't do anything, and I wouldn't show anything, and I wouldn't ask anything of anybody else that I wouldn't do myself. I was always first there. I was always the push to get to the front of the stick. I was always like, you need mission, somebody's calling, I'm there. Like, there was no way around it. I always wanted to be in it. And I always led that way because I wanted to be able to say, hey, I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. I'm not telling you to go be great at something that I'm not proficient in, or at least knowledgeable in, so I can speak articulately to it. So I think that really helped those guys see that there's a lot of leaders out there that pretend to be and don't actually do. I was doing and demonstrating it. So then when things were going wrong or they had a question, I could answer the question, but also I just held everybody the same standard that I was holding myself to. Yeah. And they liked it, Like, I think people crave that. Like, they don't want to see this astronomically cool leader. They want the guy that's like, oh, he's done it. He's been there. He knows how it is. And he's super cool enough to like teach me and understand that mistakes will be made. But at the same time, they're not going to slack. They're not going to let you go. They're not going to like lower their standard for you. It's just even across the board. And then you can't point fingers, right? Like, none of my subordinates could come to me and be like, well, you're not doing it. Not like they would, but if they did, I'd be like, nah, man.
There's definitely a very powerful leadership lesson in there. And you said something, for whatever reason, I was just a natural born leader. And I think there's that sentiment thrown around like, oh, maybe you're either born this or you're born that. But the truth is, you just had a natural tendency to do certain things that leaders did, which was, well, I'm just going to show up and do what I know is the right thing to do, and I'm going to lead in that way. And so what I call that is moral authority, right? If you do what you know you need to do, or you're leading by example, right? That naturally gives you a moral authority to then be able to turn to the next guy and say, hey, like, this is how you do it. And they trust that credibility because they've seen you do it, right? And so I think so often it's like, yeah, we naturally do something and we don't realize what that action communicates to other people. But I think it's just so important for all of us as men to understand that there's some people that lead from a position of power or authority. And those are the worst fucking leaders ever, right? And then there's other people that lead from a position of action or service. And those are the ones that we all naturally want to follow. And those are the quote natural born leaders, but they're really just natural born actors.
They're doing the action.
That are taking the action.
It's in the action.
Yeah.
It's easy with the title, and in military, in sports, in any business, you can say, well, I rank here, so you must listen to me.
Yes.
And those are the motherfuckers that you're like, they turn their back and you're like, fuck this guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's not actually living it day to day. Whereas to your point, it's like you earn the respect because you're in it.
Yeah.
And it's through the experience and the action, and you're showing leading from the front over and over, that then you earn the respect. And that's sustainable over any tough obstacle or anything you come across, because you're in it together, right?
And you have to learn from people too. Like, as a leader, you also got to shut your mouth and listen to other people.
Learn from everybody.
Even your subordinates. Like, there's so many times where people are like, I'm the leader, I'm telling you what to do. And that's great. There has to be a time for action and decisiveness. But at the same time, like, somebody that's coming up underneath you just may look at something totally separate than the way you do.
Totally.
And it might be a great idea. And to stifle that because you're like, oh, you don't know, you haven't been here, that's not always the right answer, you know? And another thing I always learned in the military was you can always, no matter who a leader is, you can always learn from them. You can learn two things. You can learn how to be a better leader or what not to do.
Yeah.
And those two things, like, we had terrible leaders that if you were reminding people of your rank, you weren't that rank.
Yeah.
Like, if you had to tell people, I am this person, you're not that person. Because there's guys that would gain respect from people because they did the thing and they respected who they were too.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so many, leadership is so universal in the fact that like anybody can really do it. It's just depending on like how you do it in your style. Some people are hard-nosed, some people are learners, some people are, we're a team, let me build you together. Some guys are just like up here and you're just like, I'm just aspire to be you.
Yeah, we're talking about leadership here, and it's like I can't help but connect all the conversations we've had around masculinity and how like what you're stating is 100% what I believe as men we must do. It's like we don't talk about how disciplined we are. We're disciplined in our action, and you watch how disciplined we are, right? We don't talk about, oh, we're strong or we're capable. It's like we need to be able to show and demonstrate that, right?
Yeah.
And the parallels are just, you know, we talk about what it means to be a man in the world today, or defining masculinity. And I'd be curious to pivot this from kind of leadership and your experience there to how that's kind of molded you as a man and your outlook on masculinity, what it means to be a man in the world today, and how that all kind of ties in.
Yeah. I mean, obviously men need to lead. I'm not saying that women can't. They're very accomplished, great people and great, you know, at what they do. But I just feel like there's a lot of guys that don't really do it today. And I don't know, you know, my life and my trajectory and all the things I did, it was, you do lead by example. You set the standard, you hold the standard. I would hope like all the guys that watch this that were on the team with me or that I trained would say the same thing. I always held the standard. I never beat people just because. I never did things that were just out of ego. I always was just driving from a place of like, just be real. Just be who you are. Not everybody's going to be the same, and that's okay. Like, I don't want everybody to be the same. I just want you to be who you are. I think if you're authentic and real and like really come forward and be honest with people, I think that's a huge thing in being a man. I think a lot of people try to pretend to be something they're not, or, you know, social media drifts you into kind of like mocking to be like this other person, and that's fine. Some people's life trajectory that goes that direction. But then, you know, if you're truly who you are and you represent yourself, be a man of your word. Like, I'm not perfect. We'll talk about it. Huge mistakes I've made. I've made mistakes in my life. I have lied before and things like that. I've made those mistakes. But I try now, and I learned it hard on the SWAT team, was extreme ownership. And you may think you know like extreme ownership, but there's a different level to it that I didn't even realize until I was really like put in that situation of owning my mistakes. I think if I could give one advice to men is like, own your mistakes, be humbled by them, but don't let them define you, right? Just move forward, but don't blame everybody else around you for the mistakes that you've caused in your life. Own them and then just move forward. Like, people will respect that. People will look at that and be like, okay, he's not just, this person did this to me and that person did this and my life is like this and work sucks so that made me do this, you know?
Yeah.
You're in complete control of your life.
So what I heard there was three things, just to summarize. One, in your experience or in your perspective, like some of the most critical aspects of being a man in the world today are one, owning yourself and being who you are. I think it's so powerful because we live in a world where everyone is trying to misinform us and tell us who we should be. And maybe one of the most powerful and courageous things we can do as men is just be ourselves. You know, and I think it's funny to hear you say that because I love it when you show up in your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shirt.
Damn right.
Or you talk about how much you love your Crocs,
Yep.
you know, and it's like, we all have our quirks.
Yeah.
The only difference is whether or not we have the courage to be ourselves in the light of other people, or if we hide ourselves until we're in a closed, safe space. And so I think I love that sentiment. Like part of the most basic, or maybe a better way to say it is like one of the most basic things of being a man is having the courage to just be yourself.
Yeah. And like to expand on that, you're gonna find the people who you believe like you should be around, right?
Your tribe.
If
yeah.
if these guys made fun of me for wearing Ninja Turtle stuff, like I'd be like, all right, well then you're just not the people for me, you know? Like
Well,
it's
we
very
do
exciting.
make fun of
Everybody,
busting,
yeah,
you know,
that's
it's like-
different. But if you're like, get out, you know, like, you know, that changes things a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big thing too, is then you start to find your people, and then you can thrive in that situation, you know?
Yeah. The second thing you said was just taking radical responsibility and extreme ownership for your life, for your experiences, for your mistakes. So powerful. And then maybe my favorite thing, the third thing you said was don't let your failures and your mistakes define you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you got to know who the fuck you are and be that person, right? Life is going to kick you in the dick. Have the courage to accept responsibility for all your failures and shortcomings, and then use them to grow, not allow them to define you.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be with yourself forever, right? Like that's just, I know it sounds weird, but like think about that. You are the person you're going to be forever. People will come and go out of your life. You'll have experiences, you'll meet people, you'll be part of some tribes and then move on to new tribes. Like your life will grow, but you will always be you. So if you're not happy with who you are and who you're presenting to people, and you're constantly trying to change who you are to meld with other people, you're forever going to be chasing a dream or yourself, and you're never going to know truly how you feel about yourself.
Well, I think one of the best, like, this is such a great topic, and I think we could talk about it forever because we can never lie to ourselves, right? You always know where you're holding back, where you're hiding, and what you're avoiding. And it doesn't like, and we get so caught up in this idea of, well, if no one else knows or no one else sees, then it's okay. And whether or not it's like something that is worthy of hiding doesn't even matter. You know, it's just like, if we are hiding any parts of who we are, there's parts of us that we're still not mature enough or comfortable enough with being.
You're courageous enough to not worry about what everyone else is judging or thinking of you because you're worried about being judged or
the weird things you're saying about your Ninja Turtle shirt, even though it's rad.
Yeah, I recently heard something along these lines, and it was like, you are going to spend the rest of your life with yourself. So you should probably just get to a place where you enjoy the company.
Yeah.
And if you're always hiding or avoiding or suppressing something, what a shitty experience.
Yeah.
And I think all of us as men, I mean, God, it takes a long time to figure out like really what we are, who we are, what we want to be. You know, we're all relatively the same age, 38, 39, you know, in that like later 30s stage. And I just feel like I'm just now really figuring things out about who Anthony wants to be. I'm curious how that might apply to you guys.
Well, and to me, it changes, right? Because who you want to be when you're 15 is different than 25 and 35, and your priorities change. But it's that constant checking in and like, who am I today? Because I don't know about you guys, but I've lived 20 lifetimes in the different chapters and seasons in my life, right? But checking in on really identifying who am I today? Who do I want to become in the future? And what skills, what traits, what habits do I need to develop to become that person, right? But really identifying and reflecting on what that is and who that is, and being, to your point, radically just transparent and authentic to yourself. I mean, it's critical. And I don't think enough people really stop to take time to do an audit and some self-reflection, because it's so easy to get caught up in the bullshit whirlwind of like, this is how I've done it forever, so this is what I'm going to do, and this is who I am. And it's like, no, you can stop and redefine that at any point in time.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Spence here, co-founder of Live Bearded, and we wanted to take a quick break to let you know that this show is sponsored by Live Bearded. Meek and I started Live Bearded back in 2016. We're on a mission to help beardsmen look, feel, and be their best. So if you find value out of the show, if you have a beard or know someone who does, do us a favor and share livebearded.com. Go to the website, check us out. We've got the best beard products money can buy. All right, guys, back to the show.
I think building confidence over time. I mean, like I said, I always had the kind of trajectory in my head. I had these massive goals. I wanted to be in the military. I wanted to be pro in paintball. These massive goals that seemed unobtainable, and I always just pushed towards them. And it was doing like along the way, making the little mistakes and then learning from them and the people that were around me and them forcing me to come out of my shell and like really be an evolved person. Just built confidence. And then next time I stepped into a ring of like, well, I have to beat this. I was confident in myself. I knew I've done it before. I can do it again. So then this growth of just building the snowball of confidence, I think that's what really helped me. I don't think I really changed much. I mean, I wear pretty much the same thing I wore in high school and stuff, but I just got more and more confident, and then I had more and more life experience, and then that life experience carried me to the next thing, and it just made me expand of who I was. So I had places to draw back. But I will say, doing the things I did, traveling with a team, going out on limbs, being places with people, going on trips, you just learn other cultures and other life and other experiences, and it just helps you to be like, oh, I understand where you're coming from. This is who I am. Are we going to mash or no? Yeah. And having the confidence also to walk away from people. Hey, you're just not the person I thought you were, or you're just not good for my life.
Yeah.
I'll just move on. It's okay. Yeah. There's more people in the world.
Let me ask you this. One of the things I really believe is the perspective that we have in life really gives us it creates how we view the world, right? And we could have a different perspective that gives us totally a different view of something. So from playing a pro sport to being overseas in multiple missions to coming back and being on the SWAT team, like you've had a very interesting perspective in the world, and particularly in a lot of war or a lot of very dangerous and difficult situations. From those kind of three worlds that you've lived in, what was like the key perspective that you've taken away to help you as a man now in this next stage of your life?
You can only control what you can control. I mean, there's things that are bigger than us, and life is bigger than us. And, one story is I was overseas. It was Mother's Day. We were getting rocketed. And if anybody overseas, they know they shoot these huge rockets about the size of me at bases. Our base was only 1 mile by 1 mile in the middle of nowhere. So odds of it landing on our base are pretty good. And we're just hearing these like boom, boom, boom. And at the time I was a team leader, so I had soldiers underneath me. And I'm just sitting there like, man, we're done. Like there's nothing we can do. We can't fight back. We can't change anything that's happening right now. The only thing I can affect is that my guys are looking at me right now. So I'm just going to chill. I'm just going to pretend like this is not even a big deal, right? And they look at me and I'm like, man, this needs to hurry up so we can go eat. And just in my head, I'm like spinning. I'm like, we're going to die. Like this is it. Like I'm like literally like any moment now it's going to hit the top of this. We're going to be done. All I could think about was like, look at these dudes, show that it's not a big deal, and carry that thought process through life. I can't control it, but what I can control is myself. I can control my emotions towards it. Anything in this world I can control my emotions towards. So man, just be positive. After those thoughts fleeting, I'm like, okay, they're not going to hit us. We're good. Like that positive affirmation. I can't tell you how many times I've said positive affirmation things in my head, rolling up to search warrants, rolling up to street jumps, like knowing that the most dangerous things are about to happen and just be like, we're going to own this. We are good. This is happening. We're going to be fine. So it's just like that understanding that you can't control everything. You can only, the SEALs say like 3-foot world or whatever. Like I can only control what I can physically touch or influence. After that, man, what's going to happen is going to happen. You get no control over it. So worrying, wasting your life, not going after something, it just is a dead end. And then just keep telling yourself, I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. Everything's going to be fine. We're good. That stuff, man, is so powerful. It changes your whole chemistry of your body, and it just makes things. I can tell you when I was negative things would happen. When I was super positive and have positive outcomes, it always went that direction. I don't know if, people believe in energy or whatever you put out there, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned there is like, you internally were very uncertain, but you had a group of men that were looking to you for leadership. And so you had to bring certainty in an uncertain time.
Yep.
How did they respond to you in that? And how do we maybe, what lesson would we learn from that?
Well, they think I'm out of my mind. So let's just preface that. There were some other times overseas where I did some stuff and they're literally, I have it on like GoPro and they're just like, this dude's out of his mind. Like, but I was just, you know, their mind, like I could see in their faces the sheer terror, right? And as anybody would when those things are happening. But I think when I made that joke of just like lightheartedness, like, man, we better not miss chow, or they better not hit the chow or the gym. Like those are our two things that we loved. So it's like, they better not hit that. Anything else, we're good. Like, they kind of chuckled for a second and maybe they were still reeling in their head, but like, it was definitely a change of, you know, acceptance, I guess you could say. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I see, I like, yeah, this is going to happen. Like, you know, and same thing with SWAT team. I just carried this positive, like, it, you know, what's going to happen is going to happen, but we can make fun of it. We can have a good time with it. Like, and then, you know, all kind of bond like that. I don't know. Like I always used humor, I guess, as a way to get out of really feeling depressed or like scared or things like that.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I think, like, as men, we are called to be leaders in some capacity, right? Leaders of ourselves first and foremost, but then leaders of a family or of a community or of a business or in some aspect. And one of the most important parts of leadership is bringing certainty to uncertain times. And even within ourselves, right? Like if we're in a really challenging, hard situation and it feels like everything's fucking falling apart, like we still have to bring some level of certainty or affirmation to those moments. Otherwise, like you said, like everything just fucking falls apart. It's such a powerful lesson. And I love you sharing that because it's a great reminder for all of us that, you know, circumstance doesn't necessarily create character, it reveals it, you know, and when we're in the chaos, in the uncertainty, that's who we really are. Totally. And I think that's the best time that we're actually sharpening and developing as men.
Yeah, when I went overseas my first time, like I wanted to go because I wanted to see if who I thought I was real. You know, like I loved this idea of war and, you know, I always thought in my heart I was the guy who would go forward and do the dangerous stuff, but you never know. Like there's guys that went overseas with us that ran the other way when things really bad went happen, right? So when things actually started happening for real, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm in it. Like, all right, let's go. Like, let's get there. Let's do this. Let's bring it to them, you know? And it was just reaffirming in my head of like what I thought I could be and who I was. This was like putting, you know, foot down and being like, oh, okay, I'm actually that person.
Truly testing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people spin their wheels of like, can they do something? Who are they? Are they going to do it? But they don't actually like go forth and like truly test that, especially at a high level like that, where it's like you're testing it with your life. But I mean, that doesn't always have to be the case. It's just that was my line in the sand of like where I wanted to see if I was truly that person. So I think like, you know, to your point is like you got to really know who you are, but also test that and see if you truly are who you say you are. Because in those moments of terror and horror and stuff like that, like, are you going to be that person? And how are you going to treat people around you? Like, you know, as a cop, you know, just being nice to the people around me, even the bad guys, like I wasn't overly, you know, if we had a fight, we fought. Afterwards, are you okay? You know, being humbled in that aspect of like flipping that switch on and off was also a big deal because it helped me later on down the road of like being a good person in those chaotic situations.
You've been on a lot of different teams that have had a lot of different missions.
Yep.
What makes a really, really great teammate and what makes a really shitty one?
A great teammate will take responsibility for his actions, will be open to criticism, and will be like wanting to work just as hard as you. If you got a guy that can do all three of those things, like when I was on the SWAT team, I was on SAU, so it's a special operations unit. They are the full-time team. We do surveillance. We do a lot of stuff that goes above and beyond like the search warrants that you guys see or like hostage rescues, things like that. We do a lot of plainclothes stuff, vehicle apprehension stuff. Like it's pretty legit. But I remember one time doing that, and we were on a street jump and I was just looking around and it was like art. Like every dude was moving exactly how he needed to move. Everybody's talking to each other exactly how they're talking to each other. Everything was clicking. There was nothing lapse. Everybody was just on it. It was like the most beautiful thing you could see. And then afterwards, everybody comes together. Hey man, I messed this up. Or I was a little late to this. And it's like, you just saw the most perfect thing in action. And these guys are still coming up to you and going, I could have been a little bit faster at that. I could have been a little bit better at that. Yeah, I'll own that part. That was on me. I should have told you the information faster. That was an extraordinary teammate. And the team was extraordinary because of it. There was other people prior to like kind of us. They just didn't have really that mindset. It was very much like, don't blame me. I know this. I've done this a million times. It's your fault. And it was like, okay, but it wasn't. But like, again, shut my mouth, move forward. So that didn't breed guys really communicating with each other, right? Because if you got picked on or you got called out and it was really rough for you, you wouldn't open your mouth. You wouldn't call yourself out. You would try to blame others. And then that causes division. And it's like, hey man, like I didn't do that. Why'd you call me out for that? You know? And when everybody was truly open and honest, the team came together so tight. It was like the tightest that team had ever been. Just because I'm not scared of what you have to say. I'll call myself out before you can call me out. That was the goal. Like the goal was to call myself out before you did. And you own it too. And then, hey man, let's go run it again. And be willing to put the work in, right? Like we just did a search warrant. House is clear. We can go home. I've probably been called out probably on like hour 40 of overtime. Hey, you want to run through the house one more time just to make sure that we didn't miss it for the next time? Let's go do it. And that was like the mindset of the guys and the team and the people that, you know, I would call a great teammate.
You've referenced that a couple of times, right? You said in the paintball is get the job done. Work ethic, what makes a great team member, doing the work, stepping up. Now, one of your mantras or beliefs, right, is do the work.
Yeah,
you mentioned that
work,
before. Yeah. Unpack that more for us because there's clearly a theme here of just showing up, getting the job done, doing the work.
So when you're going through SWAT school, there's a CQB entry work.
Yep.
There's a very big thing, and it's like find work. You should never just be standing there looking around, wondering what's going on. You should have a job and a task. And then after that job and that task, you either help somebody else with their job and their task, or you find a new one to do. You should never just be like stagnant going, okay, whatever, you know, blah, 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 blah. So it was just the mantra, find work. So, you know, when I had my mishap and I like everything was kind of spinning out of control, I vaguely remember, like in my head, all I could think about was like, what's next? What's the next thing to go to? And that's what led me into like the entrepreneurship and stuff like that is just, I can't sit still. I don't have that built into me to just surrender or just sit here and go whatever. I was just, even on the teams, I was just always finding work. I was running like 6 different programs. I was also running the SWAT school, Armor. I was also helping out major gun manufacturers on like testing their products and stuff too. So like always like digging your hands into whatever else I could get into and like being an expert in those things. That was the coolest thing. So yeah, like I carry that, I guess, to anything I do is just find work. Don't be lazy. Just go do it. And we'll figure it out along the way. I mean, you know, not everything's perfect.
Well, where does that drive come from? Like, is it something that you were instilled at a young age? Is it something you observed? Because I think we could all agree there's some guys that have drive and there's some that don't.
Yeah. It's, I would say it was when I went pro in paintball, but I think I had the drive in me before that. And I don't know if maybe I just was so hyper fixated on a goal that I just learned to do it. Like I knew I probably wouldn't go pro just because out of Arizona, there was no pro teams. So only back at that time, only 2 to 3 people left Arizona to go pro out of, I don't know, like 500, 600 kids that were playing. So I was in the backyard. I was watching every DVD that came out. I was reading every magazine article.
Obsession.
I was like obsessed. I was, snap shooting in the backyard, hitting small plates, like doing all this extra work throughout the week and then going and playing 2 times a weekend to the point where I'm throwing up and I'm like heat casualty kind of thing. Come back, do it all again throughout the week and just, I couldn't get enough of it. And then when it was rewarded by getting to that level, it was just like, you're not even there now. Now you're competing against guys who've been there forever.
New room.
So it was just a new start, right? Now I'm doing drills with guys that are way better. So you got to get better. Well, I'm not going to get better like just in these 2-day practices. So now I'm digging even deeper, running, working out, doing all this stuff to like press myself even farther. And I think, just there. And then when you come into a program that all the guys are doing it, like before it was just me. Now you come in here and you see this isn't new. Like everybody's doing what you're doing. Everybody's staying extra. Everybody's shooting extra.
Standard.
Yeah. That's where it was like, you need to outwork everybody around you.
Yeah.
And you probably never will. So you can keep trying.
So it sounds like a little bit of it was nature, that obsession that drove action. And then some of it was nurture, viewing, witnessing, and then modeling other successful people's behavior.
Yeah. If I didn't have those guys around, I don't know if I would necessarily be the like obsessive person I am today. That leading into the military, leading into the SWAT, and then SWAT was just like a whole, I know that it seems odd, but like the team and SAU and being a special op, like an operator, like that level of just attention to detail was just so much higher. So I guess like everything in my life kind of was like a stepping stone of just like next rung of where that standard is.
Yeah.
And even when you thought that I'm at a pretty high standard, I was humbled when I was going through SWAT school. I'd been to war already. Like I'm thinking I've been shot at, I've been blown up. This should be, this is just, and it was not. And I got slapped down real quick. And it was like, okay, there's a new level to this of humbleness, of like accepting your responsibility. And that's where it just always changed. It's just always like that next rung. And now business is just a whole new rung of this. Like, very few people are successful at it, and everything's resting on your shoulders, and how you do it is how you do anything is how you do everything, right? Like that saying is. So just trying to bring that drive and that focus and that want to a new realm, because I'm not doing this realm anymore.
Yeah, so obviously you worked pretty much your entire life to get to the teams in SWAT. You were on SWAT for 9 years. You were teaching school. You were kind of at the peak of your career there, loving what you were doing. And then made a couple of mistakes and eventually actually had to leave that career path. Talk to us about that kind of failure, that mistake, that experience of like metaphorically or objectively losing kind of everything that you'd worked so hard for and needing to reinvent yourself and start over. So many guys obviously go through a period of their life where they have to completely reinvent themselves, and I think you've done a really incredible job of it.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I will say this before I start so I don't forget, because I'm going to go down this story, but I didn't do this alone. There is a lot of people in this story that helped me to get to where I am. So when I talk about this, I don't want it to sound like Mike was the one who did all this. Like, I had some extraordinary people come to me and help me, man, I never expected. So to include you guys. So it's just like, it's a very big story, but just because of what I did isn't necessarily reflective of like, it helps to have help. So ask for help and be good to people. So 2 decades of my life, I've been working towards doing what I love. As a SWAT operator, I was good at it. It was like breathing for me. I loved every aspect of it. Call outs, like I would work, shoot, do all the extra stuff, and it didn't bother me at all. I loved it to death. I don't know if anybody else has ever had this, but there's moments where I would look at it like this was my purpose in life. I was put on this earth. I knew when I was a 5-year-old kid that I wanted to go this direction, and I made it. I had hiccups along the way. I had like ups and downs, to even get into the PD. Like I tried one time, but I had a minor consumption ticket. So they actually were like, we can't take you right now. You ever thought about the military? Yeah, I thought about the military. So I go sign up, and then I go to war, come back, and then they rehire me. And they had my pictures comparatively, like from the first time to this time, and I was not the same person. Like I didn't deserve it the first time. Second time, I definitely was like, okay, I understand this. So I'm I'm cruising. Like I'm at the highest level you can be at. I've worked everything. I've given everything. I've sacrificed relationships. I've sacrificed friendships, going and hanging out. Like all I know now is my world of SAU, and those guys were and are amazing guys, like friends and operators. So like a lot of people do, we like to go hard, go do high risk search warrants and all that stuff, but we're not robots. So when you come home, it's not the same. It's not like we just turn off and we're like, oh, cool. We'll just power down now and everything's fine. That same, I guess, risk you're willing to take here, kind of willing to take in personal side. A lot of guys resort to alcohol, go out, party, live life, because tomorrow you could do a warrant or you could do an HRT and you're not coming back from that. So, everybody just kind of like lives life to the fullest, as they should, but there's moderation. So yeah, we just finished SWAT school. I am now running SWAT schools. So I'm teaching every aspect of it, entry, shooting. I'm like, keeping track of the candidates, writing up their stuff, everything basically, along with still doing casework and all this other stuff. So we get done. I'm like, I'm going to go get some food, have a drink. Man, I love old fashions. Like that was my thing. So I go and I get an old fashioned, and then I meet some people out, and oddly enough, I'm a social butterfly. Like I know a lot of people think like hardcore SWAT dudes are like super shut off. A lot of us are very friendly people, and we'll like, yeah, whatever, because you're not really scared of anybody, You're just kind of like, yeah, let's hang out, Like you're weird, but I like you, or it's cool. So anyways, I start drinking heavily, and I leave the bar. I don't recall any of this. I don't know if it's because I hit my head in an accident or because of just how much I had to drink. I don't remember how much I had to drink, or I don't remember a conscious decision, but obviously see where this is going. I get in the car. So I get in the car. I don't remember this. All I remember is waking up. I'm looking up, and the lights are on in the car, and the airbags are off. Excuse me. So I'm like, well, I was in an accident, obviously, and I don't know what I hit or how it was. So I get out, and I go up, and there's another car in front of me with a couple. I ask them if they're okay. They're kind of like shaken up. I go back to the car and pretty much pass out. I wake back up to the cops being there, my own department. And yeah, DUI, they arrest me as they should. The two officers that arrested me, I hold no ill will towards. They were doing a phenomenal job, treated me with the most respect. I did this to myself, so like a lot of people would be like, I heard later, like, why did they arrest you? They should have took care of their people, blah, blah, blah. No, I deserved every moment of that, and they did exactly what they should have did and what they were supposed to do. So this happens, and I'm like, oh, fun fact, I was also in an unmarked police car while I did this too, because I just came back. And in SAU, you get called out all of the hours, so you have your own car with all your gear in it and stuff like that. So it was really bad. I kind of chuckle, but it's not funny. Like that was extremely dumb on my part. Again, the only excuse I will make for myself, which isn't really an excuse, is I don't ever remember making a conscious decision to be like, let's get in the car, you'll make it, But I could have at the time, I just don't remember it. So fast forward, it's supposed to be a regular DUI. This is where your reputation matters. No one abandoned me, even my own department. They like, hey man, you made a mistake. I owned it the whole way. The whole time I raised my hand, I said it was me. Like, no one put me in the car. It wasn't the stress of the job. It wasn't like I was fighting demons and I was trying to drown them. I was capable of everything I was doing. All the heinous shit I've seen in my life with SWAT and the military, for some reason, it doesn't sit there. And I don't like battle it with like alcohol or I have these dark demons. It was very just like I knew what I was getting myself into and I was okay with it. So they go, okay, well, we'll make a new program for you. Well, let me back up. So then guys come to my aid and they're like, hey man, you need to talk to your POSA attorney and have them help you. So I go talk to my POSA attorney and he's like, man, you need to have like a little bit more emotion than this, what you're doing right now. was like, I'm trying to like understand what you're telling me, because he was explaining my rights and what's going to happen and all that stuff. And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. So then I go to the hospital, and I had like a severe concussion, memory loss, like throwing up, but I didn't know. I just was kind of like, whatever, because you're just used to eating pain and keep going. Like, I had tons of messed up things from just wearing body armor for so long.
Hey guys, Mink here, and I want to take a quick break from the conversation to tell you about our sponsor, Live Bearded. Spence and I started Live Bearded in 2016, and our mission from day one has been simple. We want to help beardsmen look, feel, and be their best, both with their grooming and in life. And with that, that's one of the reasons why we started the Beardsman, because we love having these conversations about what it means to be a man today. So if you have a beard, if you want to participate in this conversation and you want to look and feel your best, go to livebearded.com, check out our products. I guarantee you will love them. And if you don't, we've got a 365-day money-back guarantee. But I promise you will. So check us out, livebearded.com. Now let's get back to the show.
So they bring me in and they're like, okay, well, we'll make this program for you. You go do drug tests or P tests. You won't drink anymore. You'll go to AA, and we'll make this program where you can go to the jail. You'll work in the jail for a year. Once your license is reinstated and everything's good to go, you can go back to being in patrol. But they're like, obviously you have to work the jail, which a lot of guys looked at as like a downgrade, and you're going to take a pay cut. Man, this is how much I love this job. I was like, whatever you want. Cut my pay, put me in the shittiest shifts at the jail. I don't care. I want back. This is my mistake. I'll own it. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. So I go to work the jail, and I'm like, well, I have all this experience. Like, I'll run your weapons program for the detention officers, because they need a qual, and a lot of them are having trouble with it. So I'll get training program going. And then I was like, also, DT needs defensive tactics, like fighting inside the jail. There needs to be like updates and stuff to that, and the policies and how this all is going. So I was just took it all in. I was like, let's go. Like, I'll do that. I'll work. And being in jail and working in detention like that is, those guys are unsung heroes, because listening to people scream all night long sucks. It was the worst. It really is like a type of punishment, but the people that I worked with were amazing. Never once looked at me like, you're the broken guy. You're the guy that just got here. Immense respect from them. And I tried to show as best as I could. They were just super nice. I mean, hell, half of them were there when I got arrested. So they were booking me in, So then as this is going on, I'm about 4 or 5 months into the jail. I get a letter in the mail, and it says, well, you're being charged with 2 felonies. I was like, wait, what's this? Like, this was already kind of like resolute. We had a program. I'm enrolled. We're doing this thing. We'll come to find out charges were submitted because one of the people I hit had a hairline fracture in their ankle. The law is very subjective to this. What is actual disfigurement? Actual disfigurement? If I break my finger and it never grows back the same, that's pretty much disfigured. So for life, But now if I break my bone and it heals, is that necessarily disfigurement for life? Or is it even disfigurement at all, right? So that's where the subjectiveness comes in. Regardless, I put myself in the situation, so it is what it is. Once they charge a felony, I can't carry a gun anymore. I can't work at the jail anymore. They're like, oh, we're going to have to put you on admin leave, which I knew was writing on the wall. They're like, you're done. So I'm like, well, I resign. This is where 2 guys came to help me immediately and brought me in to teach. I was teaching firearms stuff, and I was teaching security guards how to do their job for the Jewish Community Center. Nate and Tony, you guys met them at the range. So they came out, and they have a side company that they have, and they had me coming out and teaching firearm stuff until it was like true that I couldn't like hold weapons anymore. And then I met my lawyer, Ben Green, and that guy is amazing. Like, went to bat for me. Again, there was no contest. I wasn't fighting anything, but he was like, I think they're really overdoing this the way it's going. I think they were just kind of hammering you because you were a cop. And throughout the process, I was never labeled as like who I was. It was just always like the police officer, the cop, the guy that, you know what I mean? Obviously, there's nothing I could say to that. I was a cop and I did something wrong. And of course, everybody's going to hold you to a higher standard, like we talk about. Plus, people want retribution, you know? Like if I got a speeding ticket, it's not fair if I get a speeding ticket. The cop gets off, you know? So I kind of knew what was coming, but man, they told me 7 years in prison. So right out of the gate, I'm like, wait, what? Like, we go from misdemeanor, I'm just going to have like maybe 2 days in jail. And then I got to go, you know, work my way back. And I'm willing to because I accepted it. But they're like, yeah, the presumptive on this is like 7 years. So first lawyer I met was like, can you go to prison? I was like, I don't really like that you're asking me this question on our first meeting. I mean, like, I guess I could, but like, do I want to? Absolutely not. Will it be good for me? Like, what do you think? I'm a cop going into prison. Like, this ain't going to go well, you know? But again, I put myself in this situation. So, but it was just weird wrapping my head around the fact that like literally a week before I was arresting felons. And then now I am being labeled one and possibly going to prison. So, you know, you can imagine like what my gut was doing. You know, like I was just like, my life's over. Like I'm going to go to prison for 7 years. What am I going to do after that? My whole 25 years of my working career has been towards doing law enforcement and doing this stuff. I can't even touch a gun anymore. So it's like, plus, you know, who's going to hire a felon? Like, what am I going to do? And then Ben came in and he helped with like really getting the charges to where they should have been. You know, obviously I should have punishment, but lessened it down. But that guy went above and beyond and has even to this day. Like I'd probably consider him family because he's just, man, like I can't thank him enough for everything that he did. And he didn't charge me a ton to do it because, I mean, I'm broke now. Like all of my retirement, I pretty much half of it I had to pay into lawyer fees. Like, I mean, they're like, you need $50,000 immediately, like, or you're going to go to prison. So we get through this, I get out of there, and then I'm like, well, now I don't have a job. Every skill set that I know I can't use. The judge was really cool. She said, normally when you're a felon, you can't even be around guns. But because I was training and because I was doing that stuff, she said, I'll make an exception. We'll write it in there that you can be around them, you just can't touch them. So like if I could teach people how to shoot and stuff like that, I just couldn't physically hold the gun. But I could be at a range and stuff like that, which I was very thankful for. But then being on the other side of it, like having probation, and then like when you first met me, and thankfully like you guys knew my story and knew like what I was doing, and didn't even scoff at it. Like I had asked permission to go places and to travel, and you know I had constant urine analysis tests that were random, but like 6 times a month you're going to pee in a cup while somebody watches you and like all this stuff. And so I'm doing all this, and I have no other way to do anything. At the tail end of my SWAT career, I was taking photos for like Tier Tactical, which was like this gear company. We wore their equipment, and since we wore it, I would just take pictures of the guys wearing it, and then they'd use it for their ads. And it was kind of like this small thing. But once I came out, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, the only thing I know is art and photography. And I was like, well, I'm kind of making a little bit of money doing it here. Like, well, let's kind of see where that goes. So then Justin Milmac knife guy, he brought me in to help make knives kind of in the interim. I was doing like little odds and ends, and I used to make knives at my house. So I was helping him grind down knives. Well, while I was doing that, I started taking pictures and photos for him. That got somebody else to see it. And then this kind of like snowball effect happened where I was shooting for a couple different people, and I was like surprisingly making ends meet. And I was like, weird. Like, I totally thought I'd be like working at McDonald's. Like in my head, I was like, what I'm going to do? I'm going to like work at McDonald's. Like now I'm convicted felon. I was a cop, highest level. Now I'm a felon. Like who's going to take me? Like I have no real skill set other than what I was doing. But I realized that what I'd learned in the teams and what I learned growing up, it was like, just find work, find the next job, find the next thing that you can do. And then I just started doing these little odds and ends and making videos for different people. And then I meet you guys, And I sit down, and it just kind of flourished from there. And then, I get in with Mink, and we start doing that. And I learn, being in the rooms with all these people, I learn about business, marketing, how people are working in their business. I see that there's like this different level where not a lot of people are willing to like drive and go after things and really like almost push people out of the way to be like, I can do this better, especially in the creative world. I feel like a lot of guys are like, art and my soul is in this project. I'm like, what do you want it to look like? I can do it, and you can pay me to do it. Like, I carry around my own little camera that I take photos with, and that's for me. Other than that, like, everything I do is for the customer and for like the client and what they're building. But I didn't learn these skill sets until I met you guys and met you, being in these programs and learning and listening and understanding and asking questions, So that's where it's like, I was a leader, high-end guy training everybody. Now I'm nobody. So shut my mouth, listen as much as I can, ask as many questions. But I also realized some of those things transferred into business. Like, how do you lead in business? Do people talk to each other? Hey, I got a problem with this person. Okay, did you go say something to them? Well, no. Well, why not? Like, they're not going to bite you. So it's just like these principles that I'd learned in here. Now I'm starting to funnel into business. And then that blew up. And then once one person heard about me and my work ethic, and then I go start working with other people, and then pretty soon it blew up. And then, you've helped me travel around the world and do all this stuff for you and create your brand and stuff. And then, I have probably like 6 or 7 other clients that I shoot for here and there. And man, it just blew up. And now I'm making way more than I was as a cop. And, it's not easy. Nothing ever is easy, but it's just interesting to see that, like, just because I failed over here didn't mean that my life was completely over. And it was just finding that next thing and then just driving to it, giving it that same level of just attention and fight that I was putting into making the team, or, you just learn, like.
So what was you kind of breezed over it.
Yeah.
What was the final decision in terms of like prison, no prison? You got the lawyer.
So what happened?
My bad.
Put a bow on that for us, and then speak to maybe what the biggest lesson or takeaway you had was as you navigated through this complete life transition.
Okay, so what they gave me was 2 years probation. They knocked it down to reckless or endangerment. So 2 counts of endangerment, which are still felonies. They wouldn't leave them open. So an open felony means after I complete probation, it gets knocked down to a misdemeanor. They wouldn't do that. They were like, you have to stick with the felony. So he got it, knocked down to, there's a couple of things, reckless driving and one other one, but those were misdemeanors. So at the end of the day, I got 2 counts of felony endangerment, and then I had a 2-year probation. After 6 months of probation, I got released because I was hitting all my marks. I had paid all my fines. I did everything I had to do. I was always on time. I was always like giving in my stuff, and the probation officer put in for me to just be done because they were like, "This is silly. You're like you know what you did." I never once shirked it. I always was like, "This is my fault. I own it 100%. I don't blame anybody else who did it. Everybody did their job. I put myself in the situation." So I think that kind of helped with going along. So that finished out, and then it was over. And then about 3 months ago, I got my rights restored so I can carry guns again. And I cried.
I'm back.
It was weird. Yeah, like my buddy Juan, amazingly supportive dude. We went out for the first time after, because he held all my stuff for me because I couldn't have it. And then we went out, and like I literally picked up the gun for the first time in like 2 years. And I was like, it was my eyes were welling up, because it's just weird, you know, like something you've lived with for so long. It's something so stupid as a gun, but like living with it for so long, and like so much of your dedication and time and like decades. Learning. And then you just can't ever, like, you can't have this thing. It's weird.
Yeah. You talked about the artistry of being on the teams and the way that everything worked together. And part of that artistry that you dedicated your life to was becoming as proficient with the tools of that trade as possible. Mm-hmm. and those tools became a deep passion and love of yours, there's very few things that move men to tears, but the loves and the tools and the trades and the things that we develop, definitely one of them.
Yeah. And it was just a signification of everything being finished. Like
Yeah.
finish. Yeah. Like you survived, you know, you were held as a high regard by other people. Like I never speak for myself in that way, but like people have told me that I really like held myself to a high standard. It was amazing, along the way I had a buddy die and, being on the team and stuff, I knew him really well. So they still allowed me to like go in the hospital and like salute him as he got moved into a car. And like those moments along the way were just insane because, you got to be realistic, right? I feel like I was like broken. Like I was that guy that, he fucked up bad. Like, and
You were a stain on the
and a lot of
team.
people that had predecessors or people that have done this before always get excommunicated. Like nobody wants to work with them. Nobody wants to be around that, And the fact that those guys just kept like putting their arm around me and bringing me in all these things. And like, when my boss was shot, went to the hospital with him and, they were right in like, it wasn't even a second guess. And like those moments don't go unnoticed to me. Like the feeling of still belonging to them and them having my back after something like that, like speaks volumes to their character. And, I'll never forget that feeling, but yeah, it was weird in those moments to be like, there's all these people around who don't really matter. And then you get to walk in and they're just like, yeah, go ahead. So that's significant, like those things happening. And then I guess picking up that gun in that final moment was just like I'm still me. I'm still that person, and I was still under a second from draw to shut. So
Still fast.
I still got it. Yeah. A little rust here and there, but like I still got it. So,
He's talking to you, Jeremy.
yeah. Oh yeah. Jeremy lost drastically. He realized I'll never lose my skills. But yeah, it was a signification of everything finished. So I guess like the tool wasn't necessarily the thing that brought me to tears. It was just the moment of knowing like, everything's finished and better. Like, I think everything happens for a reason. I genuinely believe that moment in life took me out of something I never would have took myself out of. Because I always talked, I was like, I'm going to ride this out till I'm broken or dead. Like, there's no reason for me to leave this. I love it that much. So I was like, I'm either going to die in doing what I'm doing, or I'm going to be so broken I can't do it anymore. And I mean, I had knee surgeries. My neck is screwed up. My hips are bad. Like, I have a ton of ailments from doing it. And like at times my arms would go numb on mission just because like things rest on your traps for so long. But I was like, screw it, let's go to the next one.
So what did that period, that experience teach you that you carry forward and will apply?
Nothing's over. Like you can get through anything and just find the next thing. Like don't make excuses. It was my fault. Like 100% was my fault.
How much of you getting your rights back, being still considered part of the team, like still having everyone put their arm around you, do you credit towards the extreme ownership you took?
I mean, they say that. I can't speak for them, I guess, but that's the sentiment is, I handled it well and I didn't place blame and I didn't kick and scream and I didn't, F you and you're doing this too. Like, why am I getting this? Yeah. I mean, there was no one to make excuses to. And I've learned that, like, we learned that in the team. If you do it and you screw up, own it. It's your own. It's yours to own. You can't blame anybody else. I could blame everybody else, but let's go back to the root of it. I put the booze to my mouth. That very first drink. After that, it's like, that's where the train left the station. So who am I going to blame? Like, I can't blame the bartender. I asked for it. So even there, like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's really breaking it down that far is like, yeah, all these things happen and people could have took different choices and changed different trajectories. But me making that initial decision, I put all those things in motion. I allowed that to even be a thing to happen. Yeah. So, I hear people all the time say, oh, well, this person did this and this person did that. Well, if you open up the door for it to happen, then it's on you. Like, if you didn't open the door, it wouldn't be a thing. So how can you really blame them if you're doing that?
And is it fair to say that with that mentality that you carried through this entire experience, you never allowed yourself to be a victim?
I mean, no, but I mean, everybody's going to have their moments of breaking. I mean, I had moments of breaking where I was like, fuck this, you know. Even in the back of the car when I first got arrested, I was like, I'm going to kill myself. And I didn't mean that at all. But, you know, at the time, it was like, what am I going to do? Like all these things, I know what's coming next. I know the next step because I've done it 1,000 times arresting other people. So now what am I going to do? And it was just, that motivation to just keep finding the next thing and having success in it. I mean, I feel like if I got knocked down again in there, I would hope that, like we said, you'd hope you be the man that keeps going. But at the end of the day, I don't really know until that happened, right?
You're tested, yeah.
But I didn't. I kept finding small successes. And I guess you can I was looking at small successes. I got the next job. So that was a small success. I got a career now with Mink. Like that's another success, you know? And they were bigger and bigger, and then traveling and doing things and then realizing like, wow, my life is actually better than it was, and learning like there's this new level and a new want to go somewhere. I think that's what changed, you know, the woe is me, or like really digging into myself. And I just, I was just like, what's next? I don't know. Like, it was hard to put my finger on. I know when we were talking about doing the show, I was like, where was the moment that I was like, fuck this, I'm going? Like, and it just always kind of just progressively happened slowly. And then next thing you know, you're successful, and you're like, oh.
It sounds like you just like, I mean, maybe not no hesitation, but very little hesitation, just take action and make progress.
I didn't have a choice.
You didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
But it's like those small wins, you talk about small wins, you identify small wins that create some sort of momentum in a positive direction.
Yeah.
And that momentum will then help like reveal big opportunities and big wins,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like start small and just get it going in the right direction, and then let that compound and build on itself.
And people helping me, right?
Totally.
Like my buddy Max was doing real estate, so I started doing some like learn and did real estate photos, and then that gave me other guys. And then, you know, the connections you make, meeting new people, being a friendly, nice person to these people, because you never know, like 2 months later, oh, hey, I had this person hit me up and need something. Can you do it? Yeah, I'll do it, you know? And then once you got to a point of like helping people, I started finding other people that like needed help, and then helping them along the way. So, I mean, I guess like good karma and stuff helps find you more stuff. Like there's this band Winter Haven. I love them to death. They're like, I could see the work ethic that I had in them about what they do in their craft. So I wanted to help them. So I helped them as much as I could. Well, that got me to be able to go to like these major concerts and see bands that I've grown up and loved, and I get to shoot pictures of them. Like, so all these connections. And like I said, I didn't do this all on my own. There was people like, you know, Nate and Tony and all these guys that came out of the woodworks, and all my friends that stuck with me and sung my praises, and, you know, tagged me and sent my pictures to people, and, you know, really rooted me on.
Yeah.
Like that helped a lot, you know.
Well, it's critical, because think about if you didn't have that level of people and support around you with those standards to help encourage you and get you through it, and it was the opposite, where it's like, oh, like let's go booze it off, or let's go party and brush it on the, you know what I mean, and make excuses, and like that would have brought you down.
Yeah.
You would have been exposed to that. But it sounds like you had people that were really in your corner, high standards, keeping you accountable, like giving you the support you need to not feel like you have to, take it on your own, but really be like the accountability you need in a positive way.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't easy. Like, I think another big moment in my life was my lieutenant on the NSAU. He was a real pain in the ass sometimes, but he always came in and he was like, hey man, if you don't know everything or you're not an expert in this, don't come in the room and talk about it. Like, if you're pitching us a new gun that you want to shoot, why is it better? What's it made out of? How's it going to help us? Like, you need to know all of it before you step in the room, right? So then that always got ingrained in me, and I would just do that all the time with the teams. So now coming into media and photo and video, well, it's not just photo and video. It's also strategy, and it's also, you know, all these things. So, you know, deep dives into YouTube and understanding it, so that way I can talk from a place of authority, right? Like, I don't want to just walk in and be like, I think this will work, you know? Doing the research behind the scenes and like learning all the facets of it. That's where it was also, I could see myself outpacing and outworking other colleagues and other people in the field is like they weren't doing that. They were good at one skill set and they would be like, oh, I'm good enough to do that. And then people would just like me because they like what I do. And I was like, nah, man, I'm going to try to make it so that I don't only just bring the pictures and the video, but I'm also helping you like craft your stuff and making it look good and taking that extra time to make it look amazing, you know? Just that, I guess, attention to detail and that hyperfixation on being a pro at what you do. That's where I couldn't let it go. Like it just traveled with me to now I just use it on cameras. But yeah, I mean, I would hope you'd say that otherwise, you know? But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it went. And all these people came to help me. And then people that, I mean, like old friends and stuff, all were like super helpful. I mean, and credit to you guys. I mean, I was in the news. I was on, you can Google it. I was on the news. Like, I was on the news. Nobody, you know, there's a lot of people who would have saw what happened and just been like, and with how much experience I had and just been like, no, we're good. We'll take somebody who has a, you know, film degree or whatever. And, you know, you and Regina took a chance on me, and man, like I can never repay that or say thank you enough for that. But, yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, luck has a lot to do with it too. The fact that like I went on LinkedIn because I watched a video that was like, you can get more clients by going on LinkedIn because there's a lot of people that don't do that. And then I'm like, I'm on LinkedIn and I see it and I'm like, well, we'll give this a shot. Like it probably won't go anywhere, but let's see. And
Here we are.
Now it changed the course of my whole life.
What as we, I mean, obviously like really powerful the way that you handled the situation. And again, I think it just speaks to the importance of looking ourselves in the mirror, admitting our faults, our mistakes, owning them, and using them as not a defining moment, but a recreating moment or a moment to learn and grow through them and continue to push forward. As we wrap up the chat here, what words or advice would you share to men that are going through the shit right now and or will be? Because all of us at time will go through something. How do you, how would you support them through that moment? What would you tell them?
Yeah. Fail fast and then just get over it. Like move past it. Don't dwell on it. Again, another thing we tell guys in the teams when they made a mistake in entry, hey man, everybody makes mistakes. Fail, make a quick adjustment and just move on. Like, and 3 rooms back don't matter anymore. Like think about what you're doing next, you know, because you can't change that, but you can affect this. So it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to cry about something that happened that you can have no effect on and no change, right? Like we can't control what we can't control. Or are you going to just put your head down and go through the next door and like make the right decision the next time? The problem we run into is if you're making the same mistakes over and over and over again, that's you. That's on you as a man to figure out, I'm making the same mistakes over and over and over again, and I'm continuing to do it. Well, then there's a character flaw there, right? I'm not perfect. I'm 100% far from it. I've made mistakes. I've owned a lot of my mistakes. I'll make mistakes in the future. I just hope to make them once and move on from them, right? Like I'm not going to go get hammered and you're not going to catch me with another DUI. You know, it's just not going to happen because it was a one-time thing and I learned my lesson from it and I'm moving forward from it. If you can do that, you can get through anything. Like if you just, you know, like you said, woe is me. If you just say own it and move on from it, it's freeing. You're done. Like nobody can hold it over your head if you're the one who admits. Like
Totally own it. You're right. Yeah,
I owned it. I did it. Yep, you're right. I did it. I mean, people ask me all the time, do you want to share your story? Sure. I'll tell anybody. Like I'm not shy about it. I'm regretful for it. If I could flip a coin and go back and not do it and be back on the team, 100% I would. I love my life now, but that's just how much I loved that more. But yeah, make the mistake, fail through it, move on. Like, and don't blame everybody around you. Don't be a dick. Like, just own it. I mean, and then people can ask you, oh, you're that guy that did this. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, like, I can't change it now, but look what I've done with it, right? I've created a career, you know, that I'm crushing, and I'm helping other people. And if anybody comes along, I'm going to tell them about my story so they understand it, so they can use it to whatever way they want, right? Like that's what we learned in the military. Teach the guy below you. So if somebody's coming up to me and like, hey, what would you know, that's why I'm doing this and why I would want that to be shared is just fail quick, fail one time, move on, own it. And people will respect you for it. If you're that guy that's always like, oh, this person did it, and oh, it's because of this, and the wind was wrong, and everybody's just going to see your bullshit, and they're just going to be like, that guy's full of shit. And I don't want to be around him because they're just going to blame everybody else but themselves. Yeah. So
I love that, brother.
That's what I'd say, I guess.
Well, dude, I thank you so much for sharing your story, for owning it.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of lessons we can all learn from it. You carry this really dynamic balance of strength and leadership and humility. And I think it's a true, just like amazing thing to witness, because as men, we can all learn from that, to have the strength and be the leader, but then have the humility to not think you're above any of it.
Yeah.
And I really respect that about you. I love the way that you've, how you've responded to the crash, the quite literal crash in your life, but then how you've not let that define you, but used it to your advantage to like develop yourself and become better and stronger for it. And it's opened up a lot of amazing doors, and just really appreciate you and the man that you are and how you elevate all of us. I've learned a lot from you, and I appreciate you sharing the story today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I mean, yeah, there's many men's that I've looked up to in my life throughout my career, and, you know, I've learned a lot from them. And yeah, humility and just being okay with who you are and owning your set is, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's people that I hope to be still in this world. I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
And
we all got them.
yeah.
Well, guys, with that said, we'd love you to join the conversation. Drop some comments below. Let us know what you thought about this. Maybe share some of your challenges, some of your struggles with us so we can all learn and grow together. But this is another episode here where we just talk about the experience of being a man in the world. Stay tuned for more, and like, share, subscribe if you got value from the show. Until the next time, we'll talk to you guys soon.